Welcome to lesson 1 of 3 in GCSE ratio, introducing the bar model. Now what you'll find is this first lesson takes us through a few key skills with ratio and a couple of quite interesting GCSE problems. By the time we get to lesson 3, it'll be full on grade 5, okay? So that'll be a really good challenge that we're building up to. Without further ado, let's get on with our first question, which will be developing our key skills with the bar model. Let's start question 1. Let's have a look. You'll see I've adapted an AQA question here. It looks like a fairly standard question. Indeed it is, but the first part is asking something a little bit different. So, the question says, John and Jenny divide £120 in the ratio 1 to 4. Now part A asks, what fraction does John have? Now this is a new thing in recent years at GCSE, looking at ratio and asking what the fraction is. Okay, let's look at the bar model. Remember the ratio is 1 to 4, John to Jenny. So John is 1 part and Jenny has 4 parts. 4 parts for Jenny. Returning to the question, what fraction does John have? Okay, if we look at the bar, it's fairly apparent that John has got 1 part and there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 altogether. 1 part out of 5. So for A, John has 1 part out of 5. The fraction is 1/5. There we have it. Before we move on, just look at the bar again. Just think, visually, you can see exactly what's going on. 1 part to 4, 5 parts altogether. Now we'll go on to part B. How much does each person receive? Well, go back to the question and the information is there is £120 to share. £120 to share. And going back to the original information, the ratios are 1 to 4. 1 part to 4 parts. Now, if we consider how many parts there are altogether, there are 5 parts. And we're sharing that £120 into the 5 parts. So 120 divided by 5 is 24. Now, I just mentioned that much of this I'm doing without a calculator. If this was in a calculator paper, use it, okay? You'll avoid making any mistakes. So we know that 1 part is 24. Visually, we can see straight away John has 24. So I'm going to write down John has £24. Because the question is how much does each person receive? So I need to know what Jenny receives. Now Jenny has 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. So Jenny has 4 lots of 24, which is £96. So there we have it. Jenny's share is £96. John's share is £24. Now, I don't think that's a big deal necessarily. The questions we're going to move on to get trickier, but the bar is really helpful. It helps us visualize. Remember also thinking of the fraction. There we go. We'll get ready for our next question. So now we're going to move to 2 GCSE questions, the first of which is fairly standard, but I'll be asking you to visualize the bar. The second, which is more problem solving-y, so it's quite an interesting little question. So are you ready? Here we go. So in the first question, I'm going to be working with the ratio 2 to 5. So I'm going to ask you to visualize that bar, okay? How many parts to the whole? Have a think. And here's something I made earlier. There is the bar. Okay. The question, we're going to share £280 in the ratio 2 to 5. The ratio's 2 to 5, and you can see that in our bar. So we have Ali and Beth. So Ali has 2 parts and Beth has 5. And the question is asking us, how much does each person have? Okay, look at the bar, we've got 2 to 5, so there are 7 parts. You can see clearly if you look at that bar, we have 7 parts. So we are dividing the 280 into those 7 boxes, if you like. So 280 divided by 7 gives us £40 for each part. Okay, so that's the main part of the problem set up now. The solution is set up. If we look at the question, how much does each person get? Well, Ali is simply 2 times 40, which is £80. And Beth, she's got 5 parts. 5 times 40, which is £200. Just a little check, if we see how much they have altogether, 80 plus 200 is 280. This is a check, you don't need to do that in the GCSE, but it's quite nice to see we've got back to where we started. Okay, this I would consider should become a very standard question for you at GCSE, but it's the bar that I'm interested in, and we're going to look at quite a clever little question here. So we've got the angles in a ratio 1 to 2 to 3. Show that the triangle is a right angle. So we show that the triangle is a right angle. That's the question. And that means we've got to have a 90-degree angle in there. What other information do we have? The ratio is 1 to 2 to 3 for a triangle. What will that bar look like? Just have a thought. Another question for you. What else do you know about a triangle that may help us? Remember, we're dealing with angles. So we look at our model then. Here's our bar showing us the ratio 1 part to 2 parts to 3 parts. We know that the biggest angle we need to show is 90 degrees. It's a right angle triangle. But there's another bit of information we know. We're dealing with a triangle, we're dealing with the angles. So those angles add up to 180 degrees. So this makes it more problem solving because you've got to bring that information in yourself. Now, what we're doing is we're sharing that 180 degrees in the ratio 1 to 2 to 3. Okay? Now look at the bar, 1 to 2 to 3, that's 6 parts. We're sharing 180 degrees into 6 parts. So 180 divided by 6, which gives us 30 degrees for each part. And now we can see, when we look at our bar, we've got an angle of 30 degrees. These two here, they'll combine to give us 60 degrees. And these 3 here, 3 times 30, gives us our 90 degrees. Therefore, we have a right angle triangle. And look what I've written here. I've got my calculation here, and I've got a statement linking the two. I know that because that angle is, there's an angle of 90 degrees, therefore I have shown that it's a right angle triangle. Done. Okay, let's get ready for our final question, which moves us beyond division in a given ratio in quite a subtle way. And again, we will use the bar. So let's go to our final question. Let's read it together first. The ratio of the number of boys to the number of girls in the school is 4 to 5. I'm just going to highlight the 4 to 5. And here's where the difference comes. There are 95 girls in the school. 95 girls. Now that's not the total number of students. Okay, so that's the difference. Work out the total number of students. The total number of students in the school. That's what we need to do. So to start with, we're going to build up our model and use the information we've got. So we've got the ratio of boys to girls is 4 to 5. So boys, 4 parts. Girls, 5 parts. Now the difference we've got now is that there are 95 girls. Okay, so we now need to write down 95 girls. We don't know how many boys there are, but if I want the total number of students, I need to know boys. So I've got girls, they're 95. I need to know how many boys there are. Let's go back to our bar. Girls, 95 students, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts for their share. So each of those parts is 95 divided by 5, which is 19. So we now know that each part is worth 19. So that's great because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 parts of the boys. 4 times 19 on your calculators, or otherwise, if it's non-calculator paper, your other method, 76. So 76 boys, 95 girls. The question is asking us for the total number of students. So I need to show 95 plus 76 is equal to 171. And that's my final answer. Okay, so I'm going to summarize 2 key points here. Firstly, we've used the bar and the information of 95 girls. And we've used that to find out what each part is worth. Secondly, just look at what we've written down for the examiner. Here, we've written 95 divided by 5 is 19. We'll get a process mark for that. Okay? We've shown our calculation for the boys, and we've shown we've added the 2 together to get our final answer. All of that is good marks, so make sure you show it. So that's our final question. So that was our first lesson, and I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. We used the bar to help look at fractions within ratios. We use the bar to share in a given ratio, and we use the bar in a subtly different way for our final question. But in our next lesson, we are going to look at more complex problems, more than problems, less than problems. These happen a lot in GCSE. So I look forward to seeing you in lesson 2. I love maths, and I really believe I can help you achieve. Help me share this message by just pressing the like button down below. And if you have time and can leave a comment, that would be great. Thank you.